presents Chocolate Yoddah Live.
Hey folks, Chocolate Yoddah here, spelled Y-O-D-D-A-H, because film studios are litigious. And welcome to another installment of Chocolate Yoddah Live. Oh, did it again. Hello? Check, check, check. There we go. We have a mic. Oh, these mics are finicky. All right. I think it's all working. I'm not sure, but I think it's all working. All right. So today is, what is today? Hold on, I have it here somewhere. Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. And what's on my mind is something that I was reminded of yesterday. My buddy Ron Marvo has a podcast. It's called Great American Underdog, or Greatest. Damn it, now I just forgot. I'll find it. I think it's Greatest American Underdog, but let me just double check. And it's hard to find because there's a few things that that are named the same thing. There we go. Great American Underdog. But to find it, you go to YouTube and type in Ron Marvo, M-A-R-V-O, Great American Underdog. And he posted an interview he did with Bruce Buffer, the half-brother of Michael Buffer. Bruce is an interesting character to me because his original art is Tang Soo Do, which is also Chuck Norris's original art. Really aggressive style of karate, martial arts, whatever you want to call it. They would probably be upset if I refer to it as karate. It's Tang Soo Do. Anyway, during his conversation, he used the phrase "burn the boats." I think he something about what was your burn the boats moment. And I confirmed today that that's a reference to a story that I first shared with Ron when I met him, I believe, 8 years ago, just about 8 years ago. And it's a really interesting story. It's a fascinating story. It's a true story. And it's one of the greatest stories in military history. So the story centers around Hernan Cortez, and that's Cortez with an E-S at the end. And he was a conquistador, and he did something really, really extraordinary. So he was alive in the, I guess, late 1400s to early 1500s. And this took place in 1519 and went on for quite a while. But most of the historical events that I'm talking about take place between 1519 and 1521. So we're talking about 500 years ago. You know, this is a time where the people of Mexico and South America had never seen a horse. And that was quite intimidating to them. They felt that their magic was strong. But that's another story. Smallpox has a role in this story, but not a big one. The biggest one was essentially a military decision that Cortez made that changed everything and cemented his legacy in the record books. So basically, the way the story goes, and I neglected earlier to say hello to the folks at Wisdom. And so hello, Wisdom. Hello, Clubhouse. And of course, hello, YouTube. I'm doing this on YouTube Live as well. So here's the story. Here's the setting. You've got a conquistador and he needs to conquist, which is, conquest, explore, get new lands for his home country. And there he was, and he was vastly outnumbered. According to the records, he had 11 boats and just about 200 people, 100 of which were soldiers. The rest were sailors and, I suppose, servants. And he was quite the politician, but he had very little military experience, virtually none, when he showed up there. He found himself being a shrewd politician. He was making alliances. He was, building up his presence there. But at a certain point, it came down to engaging in violence and war with the locals. Some of the locals were on his side, but he was greatly outnumbered. And the estimates vary, but it's anywhere from 600 to 1 to, 6 to 1 to 10 to 1. So there were a lot of people fighting against him. So there was either 600 opponents or anywhere up to about 1,000 opponents. And I mentioned earlier that he had 11 ships with him. And when he was confronted by his soldiers, they were telling him, because they were terrified, they thought they were facing certain death. And they said, let's jump on our boats and go home. We're going to die here if we stay. And I would have to say that just about anyone in their right mind at that moment would have done exactly that. They would have just left, live to fight another day, right? And it's not unusual for warring parties to do that. You get to the place where you're going to fight, you realize there's something really, really wrong, and you are likely going to die. Run away. Run away. As someone who's been in martial arts since 1977, that is your first line of defense almost always. When you are confronted, someone with a knife, someone with a gun, whatever it is, run. Don't do what these Instagram gurus are telling you to do and try to make some elaborate movement that will disarm your would-be assailant. You will likely die if you do that. Run away. The statistics on running away are very, very good. Even with someone with a gun, they only hit their target 12% of the time, and it's only fatal 1% of the time. Run away. All right, it's better than the alternative, which is staying and likely dying. So that said, as you can imagine, why bring up this story at all if that's what Hernan Cortez did? He did the opposite. But he was just one person. There were 100 soldiers with him. Obviously, it wouldn't have been enough for him to just say, nah, fellas, let's stay and fight. So what he did was extraordinary, and this is why he is considered one of the greatest strategists in military history. He took away their option to leave by burning the boats. He burned the boats. They couldn't leave. Like in the Bronx Tale, now you can't leave. Except on a much grander scale, right? So what happened? Well, now his soldiers only had one option. Stay and fight, but not just fight for love of country, not just fight for an ideal, not just fight for conquest. This was now a fight for their very lives. And they won. And they won only because they only had one option in order to live. Now, I would say that for myself and for most people I've ever met, they've never been in that kind of circumstance. And this is where my coaching sensibilities now kick in. Very often people give themselves a plan B. They set out to do something they want to do, something they think is important for themselves to do. It might even be something critical. But then they go, well, just in case, I'm going to have a plan B. Just in case means just in case I fail. Just in case I fail. And unfortunately, what that does is unintentionally or inadvertently create the possibility of failure. And it also creates the acceptance of failure as an outcome. Now, of course, literally, failure is always a possibility. But thinking about it in terms of managing your own emotions and managing your own drive to succeed, Cortez's strategy was a better strategy. He left no option. There was no plan B. So even though failure was technically an option, his soldiers now found a new gear. They found new motivation because they were ready to leave. They were ready to run away. And I don't blame them. They were ready to quit because that was an option. And the moment he took that plan B away, now they had to reach into themselves and find that place where it was a fight for survival, a fight to live. If they wanted to see their country, their family, their loved ones ever again, they had no choice but to stand and fight. And have you ever done that for yourself? Have you ever just decided that there's something that you have to give it all to without thought of a plan B? It's hard to do. It's very hard to do. But it's worthwhile whenever you put yourself in that position. And the only thing that I have in my history that comes close to this dynamic, this isn't precise, and it actually sounds kind of frivolous in comparison, but the idea of creating urgency and becoming solely focused on succeeding happened to me in sales. There were often, I would say many, many times where, I was approaching the last week of the month and I didn't know how I was going to pay rent. And I knew if I didn't pay rent, I'd be homeless. And so there I was under the gun, quota. If I didn't hit quota, I might be fired. If I didn't hit quota, I might be, homeless. I mean, inevitably, absolutely, I would have been homeless. So those were the stakes on the line for me. And I got focused, I challenged myself, and I just decided that this has to happen. No plan B. Burn the boats. Just decide that you don't have another day. There is no other option. And, I don't want to sound like a typical fake coach online, whatever you can believe you can achieve, all that other stuff. And, I don't want to engage in magical thinking, but imagine what would happen the next time that you have something that's very important for you to do and you remove all possibility of any other outcome except the thing that you want to do. And it's just really a brain hack. It's just a state of mind, a way to think about your life in a different way, to direct yourself in a different way, to get new and different outcomes. I believe it was Einstein who said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. And I think he had a point. So many of us complain, and I've done this as well. Oh, I can't get this thing. Life is unfair. It sucks. Are you doing anything different about it? Well, no. But, I'll make it up in volume. It's like that idea of a business owner buying something for $1 and selling it for 75 cents and hoping to make up the difference in volume. It doesn't work that way. And I think a lot of people operate that way. There's they want a new job, but they just won't pull the trigger on it. They won't spruce up their resume and start making phone calls or sending emails or whatever it is that we do now electronically to get a job. Right? Talk to a recruiter. Get the ball rolling somehow. It goes back to my favorite phrase, which I covered January 1st, and I did again the first few days of July. Whatever you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass, which is a quote from Paul J. Meyer. And now, once you've gotten crystal clear on what you want to do and that it's a burning desire to do it, if you start thinking, well, if I fail, it'll be okay, you've already sabotaged yourself. And that's really what this is about. This is about organizing your thoughts, focusing yourself, moving in a new direction, and by extension, getting different results, new outcomes. Right? Burn your boats. Don't give yourself that out. Don't give yourself that plan B. And look, nothing is guaranteed. This is where coaches go wrong. The fake coaches, they guarantee you'll succeed if you do blah, blah, blah. No such thing. Too many variables to account for. But why not give yourself the best chance of success? And this ain't about money. This is whatever you want to do. Do you want to run an international billion-dollar conglomerate? Do you want to lose 20 pounds? Both of those things are essentially the same in terms of goal setting. Right? So if you say, let's make it crazy. Let's say you want to lose 75 pounds. And you think yourself, okay, if I lose a pound a week, so that's however long that is, a year and a half or whatever, I'm going to, you set a date for a year and a half from now, and you say, I'm going to lose a pound a week for a year and a half, get my 75 pounds off by this date. Now, if you start going, yeah, but it's no big deal if I don't do it, that's where the sabotage begins. Or it's too hard. Or why do I want to lose, 75 pounds anyway? I don't need both feet. Sorry, that's a Patrice O'Neill joke about the diabetes that wound up killing him. So whatever it is, whatever your goal is, you want a more intimate relationship, emotionally intimate, same thing. You want that new job, same thing. You want the promotion in the current job, same thing. You want to increase your chances at winning the lottery, same thing. Whatever it is, whatever goal you have, if you organize your mind the way Hernan Cortez organized his soldiers, you might get a different outcome. You might burn the boats and not give yourself a plan B and have a new and exciting outcome in your life that maybe you've never had before. Anytime I've operated under these conditions, things happen, and it was almost always positive, and it was almost always what I wanted. Again, no guarantees, but just this is a way to make the best of it. So I think that's about everything I have on the subject. Hello to Tiffany Rose, Doobie, and Cecilia Grace, in no particular order. I see you folks are listening. Doobie the Trickster, my man, brother from another mother. But he's always trying to trick me, man. I don't understand what's going on, Doobie. I'm only saying that stuff because I know it's funny and he's laughing. But yeah, that's it. Thank you, Ron Marvo, for reminding me of that story and confirming today that I was the one that told you that story. It's a great story. It's a true story. And it's, I believe I first heard it from Anthony Robbins, from listening to Anthony Robbins. And, you never know in these seminars if what they're telling you is true, right? It could just be a metaphor or whatever. It could just be a story concocted for the purpose of motivating you or whatever. So that's why I went back and researched it. And everything that I told you about today, I looked up on the Encyclopedia Britannica online and history.com. And maybe you don't have a lot of faith in those websites, but I think the Britannica website is good. I mean, it's everywhere. Historians have been discussing Hernan Cortez for a long time, 500 years, because his story is phenomenal. But if you just tweak the story a little bit, you take the metaphor and methodology of what he did, and you can apply it in your own life. All right, I said earlier that that was it. I think this is it. I think I've now covered this subject thoroughly. Once again, I do this every day, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. The primary way to see it, if you wish to see it, is on YouTube. And you can find my channel at youtube.com/@thepersistentrumor. And you can either click on the live tab, or if you're ambitious, keep typing and just type /streams. And you'll get to the entire repository of all my live streams. And of course, there's close to 300 other videos in the video section and the shorts section as well. So go check those out. And again, I also simulcast on the Wisdom app and on Clubhouse. So that's it for now, folks. Peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.